These Florida homes will ruin your life. Do not buy them or you're going to be miserable until the day they come and knock it down. Florida gets a lot of crazy weather, and if you don't buy the right house, you're going to pay. In this video, I'm going to share the 10 things I did to buy my Florida home like a pro. When you're done watching this video, you're going to know 98% more than most realtors. Sound good? First, if you're new to the channel, I'm Grant Warrington. I retired early thanks to real estate investing, and now I make videos to show you what your new life in Florida could look like. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so we can explore paradise together. Let's go. First thing is foundation and elevation. We looked at a lot of houses to buy here in St. Pete, but the one thing we did not want to do was buy a house on a slab, because what that means is the first floor of your home is flush with the ground outside. So that means if there's any water that comes up, it's going right into your house. So we knew we wanted a house at least on a crawl space, so you'll have to take about 3 steps up into the house, because that's a higher elevation than the ground and you got a better chance of keeping that dry. The next thing we looked for was standing water in the streets. Anytime you're driving around a city, you're gonna see puddles of water standing there, and more than likely, that's because a lot of water collects there. So if you notice and look at the front lawn, you'll see if the front lawn is going down and there's a dip in it, more than likely that water's gonna come into that lawn, come up near the house, and it's probably gonna sit and collect in that lawn, and that's a problem as well. Second thing is the construction type. So we wanted to try to find a block home as compared to a stick-built home, a home built with 2x4 walls. Down here, we get a lot of wind, a lot of tropical storms, and of course, hurricanes. So block is the preferred thing to buy. However, block is what we did not buy. We did end up buying a stick-built home because when we bought our home a few months ago, we couldn't find any block homes that we loved that were in our price range. And when we found this one, we pulled the trigger because the market was hot back then and we knew this was what we wanted. Now keep in mind, block homes are probably going to be a little bit more expensive, and we've been through a few hurricanes now, and really I'm not too concerned with this stick-built home. I think we made a great purchase. Now, no matter if you buy a block home or a stick-built home, you're still gonna have to deal with termites. So I lived in Michigan forever, and we really didn't have to worry about termites up there. We bought a lot of properties and it just was never an issue. When I moved down here, I'd see all these houses with these circus tents over top of them. And I remember the movie Joe Dirt. If you've ever seen that, he was hanging out in one of those circus tents, and I thought, what the hell is that all about? Turns out that's when you tent a house for termites. Yeah, maybe I'm pretty dumb for not knowing that, but I didn't. And I'll tell you what, Joe Dirt's a great movie if you've never seen it. Moving on, hurricane protection. A lot of these older homes here still have the single pane glass. So you're gonna wanna check out the windows when you're buying a home. Hopefully they're double pane at least, but the best thing you can look for is if someone's replaced those with hurricane proof windows. Now those are much more expensive than a regular window, so you don't see them all the time. But if you have a hurricane proof window, it's high impact. So that means you don't have to put hurricane shutters over your windows when a hurricane's coming through. Now, just to let you know, I just said we had Helene, that hurricane, come through here, and it was offshore. It didn't hit us directly, so we did not put up hurricane shutters. There's no need to do that unless you're really gonna take a direct hit. And hurricane shutters are basically plywood that you put over your windows, but they're a pain in the ass to deal with. So if you can get those high impact hurricane windows, you are all set. The fourth thing we were concerned about was the roof and the age of the components. Now, roof age is a big deal in Florida, and when we were calling insurance companies to get quotes, that's what they were all asking us.
How old's the roof? How old's the roof?
So we thought, you know what? We're not buying a house with an old roof that we're just gonna have to put a new one on to be able to get insured. And my wife and I own rental properties, and I've probably rehabbed over 100 units, and we thought, you know what? We don't wanna buy a fixer-upper. We want something that's rehabbed and we can move right in. But are these houses you're seeing on the market really rehab? What I mean is the electrical panel updated? Is the drop that goes from the pole to your house and your service entrance been updated? What about the plumbing, the furnace or air handler, and your air conditioning unit? We had all these things updated on our house and also the hot water tank. So it was a no-brainer for us. That's why we bought it. All those components are the high ticket items. So when we were buying a place, we wanted to make sure those things had been changed out and they're brand new. Number 5 is flooding and drainage. Now, this is a big one. We bought in Central Oak Park neighborhood here in St. Pete, and it's one of the highest elevations in the city. So I told you, we just went through that hurricane and we had no flooding where I lived and the power never even went out. So we were really blessed because a lot of people had to deal with those issues. So when we were looking to buy a home, there was 2 things we were absolutely not going to compromise on. The home had to be in a flood zone, and we also wanted it to be in a non-evacuation zone. That means no matter what size of a storm comes through, we're in an area that does not have to evacuate and we can safely ride the storm out. Now, let's talk about drainage for a minute, specifically the pipe that carries all your wastewater from the house out to the city main. Anytime you're buying a home or a rental property, you need to get somebody to put a camera inside that drain and to make sure it's not broken. We bought an 11-unit apartment building a few years ago, and I had a plumber come out and he told me he cambered the drains and everything looked fine. A couple months later, sewage was backing up and we'd bring more plumbers out to camera those drains and nobody could ever find the problem. It was driving my wife and I crazy because our tenants had to deal with this. We were getting calls at all hours of the night. And as landlords, our tenants' enjoyment of the property is our #1 priority. So after paying 3 plumbers to come out and camera the drain, we finally found a 4th. And when he came out, he ran all the water in the building and it flushed those pipes with clean water. So when he put his camera into the drain, there was a belly in one of the pipes, and when his camera went underwater, he could see the bottom of the pipe was broken and toilet paper was catching in that spot. And after a few hours, the toilet paper would release and the blockage would be gone, and that's why we could never catch it. So $27,000 later, that's what we paid to fix this problem. We had to break up concrete in the floor. It was a mess, but we were so glad that it was over. And replacing a drain on a home you buy could be anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. That's not something you want to gamble with. So get that camera down that drain and make sure your plumbing system has a great bill of health. Number 6 is gutters and water management. In Michigan, everyone has gutters on their houses, and in Florida, not a lot of people do. So this was a big trip for me because I'm like, man, I'm used to gutters. I'm used to downspouts. I've done a lot of videos on the importance of getting water away from your foundation. But the difference in Michigan is most people have basements. So if you don't have gutters like you do in Florida and that water just comes off your roof and runs down the side of your house, it's going to eventually make its way into your basement. But here, the houses are on slabs or crawl spaces, and there isn't as big of a need to get the water away from the home. So when we're looking at a home, gutters aren't a top priority, but we do walk around the home and we like to see if there's any low spots where maybe water pools or would run into the crawl space. Remember, water's the giver of life and your #1 enemy when you own a home. The 7th thing we were looking for was a sprinkler system because it gets so hot down here in Florida. You need to water your plants and your grass, if you have any, or it's all gonna die. Now, we found this one out the hard way because we thought, hey, we'll just water it with the hose. Well, 2 things are wrong with that. Number 1, you're paying for your water through the city, and water can be expensive. And number 2, I didn't do it and everything died. So after owning the home for a few months, we talked to some neighbors and they told us,
hey, a lot of the homes in this area are sitting on wells, and that's where all the water comes from to run the sprinklers.
The good news was we do have a sprinkler system. It's just one of the previous owners, or the guy who rehabbed the property, took the pump and it looks like it's in bad shape. So we're gonna have to pay about $2,000 to get that thing back up and running. $2,000's not something I wanna pay for sprinklers, but if I don't wanna be the jackass on the street with the dead vegetation, I guess I'm gonna have to. I'll keep you posted on that. Number 8 is alley access or ADU potential. ADU stands for auxiliary dwelling unit. So my wife and I knew that if we bought a home, we're gonna possibly wanna build one of these ADUs in the backyard. Because if we had anybody ever come over and visit, they can use the ADU, or we could rent it out long-term and make some money off it. After all, we're real estate investors, so this makes sense for us. And the value of the property is gonna go up even more having one of these. These are a hot item. One of the first requirements is to have alley access behind your home, and that's very common in St. Pete. So when you do find this, you know you could possibly build an ADU. So the city of St. Pete does a really good job, and they give us this website you can go to here. If you're looking at a potential house, all you have to do is put the address in here, hit return, and it will tell you if this property meets the criteria for an ADU. Great job to the city for putting this website together. Number 9 is parking and accessibility. When we first moved here, we lived in an apartment complex and we had a parking deck that we always parked on. Now that was great because it kept our vehicle out of the weather, but it was a pain in the ass to have to go up and down that parking deck every time we wanted to use the car. So we obviously wanted no more issues with parking. But in St. Pete, you kind of got to go with the flow on what kind of parking is available on the house you're looking at. For instance, the house we bought does not have a driveway and it does not have a garage. It does have the alley access, so we always could pull into the back and park on the parking pad. But what we do is we park in the street just like all the rest of our neighbors, and it's really pretty common where we live. So not having a garage and not having a driveway really wasn't a deal breaker for us. And number 10 is property taxes. This is one of the big things that trips up a lot of new home buyers. And a lot of realtors don't understand this. That's why a lot of people get screwed on this one. When you buy a new home and you look at the property taxes on the MLS sheet or on Zillow, you're looking at a snapshot back in time. You're looking at property taxes that the old owner used to pay. Those are not the new property taxes you are going to be paying. So when you're looking at your finances and you want to see, hey, can we afford this payment? A lot of times the bank will use that old number as well, and they'll say, yeah, you're fine, you can afford this, we'll give you a mortgage. But what happens is the year after you purchase a home, those property taxes uncap and they catch up to the value of the home, and then they recap again. And then they can only go up incrementally over time. But the problem is your taxes might double when they uncap. The city of St. Pete has another great website where you can enter the address of the property you're looking to buy. You can enter the estimated property purchase price. You can see if steps 3 and 4 apply to you, and hit finish, and voila, you got your new property taxes for the following year. This way, you're not caught off guard, and you're not going to be shocked if your property taxes double. And if you find a property where the taxes are going to double or triple and that doesn't fit into your budget, you know right away that this is the house for you. Out of all 10 steps, if you only take one thing away from this, it's to always camera your sewer drain. Not many people in Florida do this, and it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars to fix a sewer line. I already told you it cost us $27,000 back up in Michigan. And if you don't camera, the only way you're gonna find out if you got a bad sewer line is when you move in and start using those toilets. And that ain't gonna be pretty for anybody. Hit me up in the comments if you got any more questions, or if you want a good recommendation for a home inspector. I can let you know the guy we used, and that's a contractor you should be using on any home purchase. And I have no affiliation with this home inspector, so it doesn't matter to me if you use them or not. I'm just here to help. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. That lets YouTube know that you thought this video was valuable, and they'll share it with more people. I got another video right here I know you're gonna love. Click this video and I'll see you there.